Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janārdana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janārdana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janārdana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janārdana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Pyari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate. Oh, sorry. Okay.
हरे कृष्णा हमारे बीच में है प्यारे मोहन प्रभु जी ही प्रभुपाद disciple. Let us welcome Prabhuji with a loud Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And his good wife is also here. She is also Prabhupada.
Jivanoshadi. Yes.
So Jivan Oshadi Mataji is also here. So let us welcome Mataji also with a Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, thank you very much for the warm welcome and for allowing me to speak. I hope I can speak something Krishna conscious and at least someone benefits. Hare Krishna. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chava. I'm used to saying it myself. Can we say it all together? Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chava Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayamudirayat. Nasta Praeshu Bhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 4th canto. It's chapter 31. Narada instructs the Prachetas, and it's text number 19. So if everyone can repeat. Dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu santuṣṭyā yena kenava sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyashu janārdanaḥ dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu santuṣṭyā yena kenava sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdana dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu santuṣṭyā yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdanaḥ. Someone else can chant. Dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdana dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu santuṣṭyā yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyaty dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu santuṣṭyā yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdana. Ladies? Dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu tuṣyā yena That's not very audible. Okay. Dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu tuṣyā yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdana dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu tuṣyā yena sarvendriyopaśāntyā tuṣyatyāshu janārdana dayayā, by showing mercy, sarva-bhūteṣu, to all living entities, santuṣṭyā, by being satisfied, yena somehow or other, sarva-indriya, all the senses, upaśāntyā, by controlling, also, tuṣyati, becomes satisfied, ashu, very soon, janārdanaḥ, the Lord of all living entities. Translation. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense objects, one can very, very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janārdana. Purport. These are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. The first item mentioned is dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to speak Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take to it and make their lives successful. So I'm going to just read like one paragraph at a time and then go over it. So I'm going to start with the verse. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first sentence, these are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. It's certainly not all the ways. There's so many things that we can do in devotional service. I was in class in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was giving class, and he talked about there's no difference between the Pyari who's bathing Krishna and Balaram and the devotee who's sweeping and mopping the floor. He says that Krishna and Balaram made from black and white marble, and the floor is also black and white marble, and there's no difference between those two services. We make distinctions based on what we think is higher or more advanced, but actually any type of devotional service is just as is equal. And you can be more advanced sweeping and mopping the floor than bathing and dressing the deities. It depends what your consciousness is while you're doing the service. So all these services are important. Any type of service you're doing for Krishna, it depends on, well, you're making advancement no matter what your consciousness is. But if you're actually doing it with the right consciousness, you make a lot more advancement a lot quicker. So the first item mentioned is dayayā sarva-bhūteṣu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. So before I read the next sentence, which is give an example of how to show mercy, Prabhupada would show mercy. One time in a New York temple, I don't know if you have cockroaches here. Everyone know what a cockroach is? Okay, Prabhupada caught a cockroach, and he opened the window, and he said, "And now I give you the world," and he threw him out the window. But he didn't kill the cockroach. That's the point, that most people just kill these insects, but he didn't kill them. Even once when devotees were massaging Prabhupada, and there was a mosquito flying around, and Prabhupada said, "No, just leave him." It's okay, And then when the mosquito landed on Prabhupada, he said, "Now you can catch him and get him out." So he said, because now he's attacking. So if you're attacking, you can do something about it. But anyway, you're show mercy to all conditioned souls. And you certainly have a lot of opportunities here in India. You see so many conditioned souls, so many different animals that are starving, so many different people who are hungry. I remember one year in Calcutta, I was walking around, myself and my wife, and it was in the evening, and there were people, very poor people, just sleeping out on the street. Not just men, women, children, the whole family sleeping, maybe not even the man. I know women and children were sleeping together out, and rats were going by. When a rat went by, my wife jumped. I don't even think I saw the rat, but there's one lady, she kind of laughed like, what's there to be afraid of a rat? It's like you get used to them, I guess, after a while. So we were thinking about what I really want to help these people. They don't have anything. So I was thinking, how can I help them? What can I do to help them? And I thought about, if I took them off the street and paid for a 5-star hotel, brought them to a restaurant, bought them, have them clean themselves, bought new clothes, and then I did that for one day. The next day they'd be right in the same situation. How is that helping them? And if I even did it for a week, or even if I did it for a month, or even if I could do it for their whole life, how is that actually helping them? Because in their next life they're going to be in the same place. The only way to really help people, for animals you can give them prasadam. You can't really do so much to educate an animal. Lord Chaitanya could. He can get them to chant and dance, but we're not that potent that we can do that. So, but with humans, we have to help them make some spiritual advancement. So, with these people, the next day we purchased prasadam from the temple, and we bought prasadam and fed them, because that's the only beneficial thing that you can do, is give them Prasadam. I mean, if they were in a position where they can read books, I don't even know if they know how to read, give them a book. Even in here, Prabhupada says, preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. When Prabhupada was here, he said, what value is your talking for half an hour? What does that do? But if you give them a book, then they have it. Then they can go back to it. That's the real preaching, is book distribution. He said how he compared like the small books to bullets. In wartime, there's machine guns, and he said they have statistics of like out of how many bullets one is going to hit somebody. It's not like every bullet's going to hit somebody. They shoot, several hundred bullets, and maybe one person gets hit. So he said, similarly, these books are like bullets, and you're going to give out so many of them. And then one person, Krishna in his heart's going to tell him when he's in a certain mood, why don't you read that book that you got? And then they read the book, and they have it, and then they come to the temple and become devotees. Books are the most important preaching we can actually do, is by distributing books. But once you distribute books, you also have to help the people become Krishna conscious. You have to explain the books. You have to do so many things. Because I was told I should mention something about book distribution in this class. So that's why I'm getting into the book distribution. Because I used to distribute books for, probably about 15 years, something like that. I don't know. Thank you. But and Prabhupada says preaching is the essence. The essence is the best part, is to preach. The best part of this Krishna consciousness is to preach, to go out and try to help people, try to help other souls, make some spiritual advancement in this life. You're in India, most people are making some spiritual advancement. Most Hindus, they go to the temple, they do some worship. So, but you can help them do more. Krishna doesn't want just a little. Prabhupada says it's not so much how much you give, it's how much you're holding back. So we have to try to get to the point where we're giving everything for Krishna, and when we can do that, Krishna will take full care of us. It's like a child. A child that's fully dependent, a little child, the parents take care of everything for them. Then as they grow up and they become more independent, then the parents don't take care of everything. They get their own job, they take care of themselves. But when they're fully dependent on the parents, they have nothing to worry about. So if we are actually fully surrendered to Krishna, we don't have to worry about anything. We have to have faith that Krishna will take care of us. And even in this purport, it's saying about how somehow or other, you have to be satisfied. What does that mean? Because people are not going to be satisfied in this world. There's so many difficulties, so many problems. But if you just tolerate it and just go on with your service, not seeing it as a big deal, first of all, happiness and distress comes and goes. The suffering we're going through is going to go away. Just like the happiness we're experiencing is going away. Material happiness. Spiritual happiness is eternal, but material happiness comes and goes. But, so it started out with showing mercy to the conditioned souls, and for human beings, and it said all living entities, but for human beings, it's teaching them about Krishna consciousness. Bring them so that they don't have to take birth again in this material world. Birth, disease, old age, and death, that's the material world, and there's nothing nice about any of that. You might think birth is nice, but when you're experiencing it, it's not very nice. It's described in the Bhagavatam what birth is like. So we accept what the scriptures say, and so birth is not good. Disease, old age, and death, we know those are no good. Nobody wants to get disease. Nobody wants to die. Spending billions and billions of dollars to try to get free from disease and try not to die. But the death rate is the same now as it ever always was, 100%. And haven't increased at all. If you can live longer, they think you're living longer. But it's what's the difference? Prabhupada said, what's the difference if you die at 5 years old or you die at 105 years old? What's the difference? We make distinctions because we see the body. We see, it's just a little kid. But he sees the soul. The soul is gone. So from birth, you should teach the children about Krishna. From birth, you have them hearing. They come to the temple, they hear. So their life is a success, even if they pass away when they're young. So we went to the first time. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. Prabhupada explains there's everything else. There's plenty of everything else in the world. It's just this knowledge that's lacking. There's plenty of everything. There's no, people may want more and more than they actually need. If you depend on Krishna, you're going to get what you need. And even when Prabhupada came, he was fully surrendered to Krishna. But he didn't have hardly anything in the beginning. He was suffering so much. He was kept going to the pier and finding out when the next ship was going back to India, but he never took it. He kept trying. He never stopped. We have to be determined. We have to know what is our service, and we have to be determined to stick with it. It's success or failure, that's up to Krishna. Arjuna had to fight the battle of Kurukshetra, but he didn't have to win. It's up to Krishna. Results are up to Krishna. We just have to make the effort. And generally, when you make the effort, consistently, you will get the results. It's not like the first time you go. And even in book distribution, you can't just expect everybody's going to buy a book. You got to just approach 100 people, and then someone will take a book. You got to be determined. You can't be. You can't lose faith, and people. Don't take it personally when somebody doesn't take a book. You're just doing all you have to do is present the book. Try your best to present the book. And whether they take a book or they don't is ultimately up to Krishna. But you have to do your very best, your level best, at trying to get them to take a book. And then ultimately, of course, if they take it, that's Krishna's mercy. And if they don't, you're still benefited the same. You just have to do your service. It's not like, Krishna can, Krishna can do anything. But he's purifying us simultaneously while we're trying to help others. So people should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. So this is faith. We have to have faith. Faith is very important in spiritual life. You have to, sarva-bhūteṣu, when his brother-in-law was telling him that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, he wasn't accepting it. He didn't accept it. And eventually, at one point, he finally completely accepted Lord Chaitanya as Krishna. And then, because he had that faith, he actually believed. Then Lord Chaitanya revealed to himself his sadbhuja form of Krishna with playing the flute, 2 arms playing the flute, the thunder and the water pot, Lord Chaitanya, and the bow and arrow, Lord Ramachandra, showing that they're all the same. But he didn't show him that until he actually had faith. So we have to have faith. We have to trust. So knowing this, everyone should directly engage in its devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced spiritually, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take it and make their lives successful. I was talking just about the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When Prabhupada incorporated this movement, he incorporated as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and all they had was one little storefront that they rented. They didn't have anything. So how is it an international society? But Prabhupada had very big plans. He knew that Krishna can do anything. He said that Krishna can give you the world. He can give you the world today if you knew what to do with it. So as we're surrendering more and more and learning how to utilize everything in Krishna's service, then Krishna will give us more and more. Not for us, but to use in his service. Utilization is the principle. As I mentioned, books are the basis. Everything's based on books. That's the foundation. The foundation of this building is the most important part, because without a solid foundation, everything is going to fall apart. So the books are the basis. And utility is the principle. Prabhupada said these four things. The utility is the principle. How to utilize everything in Krishna's service. That's the principle. And preaching is the essence. And purity is the force. That's really nice. So if you're pure, you'll have more potency in your preaching. So purity is the force. So the word sarva-bhūteṣu is significant because it applies not only to human beings, but to all the living entities appearing in the 8,400,000 species of life. The devotee can do good not only to humanity, but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So that even animals hear this mantra, they're benefited spiritually. I remember once, from Boston, it was part of the Boston Temple, we did traveling Sankirtan. We had 3 vans, and we went all the way, if you could look at a map later on, but we went all the way from Boston down to Mexico City in Mexico. And while we're driving down in Mexico, we stopped for prasadam. There was a big cactus, and Bahulasva, he was running the program that we were doing at that time, the Sankirtan, going to Mexico City Temple. And there was a cactus, and we all went out, and we had big kirtan around the cactus, because the soul in the cactus can benefit just by the chanting of the Hare Krishna. That was on a desert. So everywhere we have to have that attitude. There are living entities everywhere, and how we can help them. And they can be helped by hearing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said even a baby in the womb can hear the chanting of the Maha Mantra and get purified, even while in the womb. The devotee can do good not only to humanity, but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. So when you go on Harinam, or you're here at the temple, wherever, if you're chanting out loud, having kirtan, everyone's benefit. Prabhupada said when you're out on Harinam, he says you can tell the demons when they walk by and they hold their ears. They can't even take hearing Krishna's name. You can tell these are the demons. But even the demons can get purified. You know, we approach everyone. We're supposed to approach everyone. I mean, Krishna says not to approach anyone and try to preach. In Bhagavad Gita, don't disturb them, just because he's considering the devotee. Because it's a lot of work. Anybody who's gone out to try to preach to people who are not interested, that's a very difficult job. But you have to make that effort. Try to sell them a book. That's very difficult to do. And if you tried, you know it's difficult, and you just have to keep trying, and eventually you'll be successful. But the demons, we're not supposed to preach to the demons because it's an offense against the holy name. But at the same time, you don't know who's a demon and who's not a demon until you approach them. So first you approach them and you find out somebody's a demon, then you just walk away and go to the next person. But you do approach everyone. I remember once I was distributing books, and there was this really big, muscular guy, and he looked really mean. And I thought I didn't want to approach him, but I thought, no, I have to approach everyone. And I approached him, and he was like the gentlest, kindest person. He didn't look it at all. He looked so rough and tough. And he took a book, and it just showed me, don't make decisions based on the body. Approach everyone. You don't have to just think who looks better to approach, but anyone can take the Krishna consciousness. Anyone can take a book. So, thus when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. So to spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotees should be satisfied in all conditions. It's not easy being satisfied in all conditions. We always want this or we want that, but be satisfied with what you get. I mean, if you read in the scriptures, if the guru didn't call your name or call you for taking prasadam, you would fast. You know, and we don't have, I mean, it would be too long to call everybody's name nowadays, so everyone just comes, you know. But we should be satisfied whatever our external situation is. And I was mentioning earlier how Prabhupada, his external situation was very, very bad for over a year. And he was 70 years old, and he still kept trying and trying. And then eventually, I see it as different ways. I see it as Krishna did this to Prabhupada to glorify Prabhupada, because he didn't give up. If he went there and everything was just successful automatically, and he didn't go through any struggle, then we wouldn't even learn that we have to sometimes go through struggle, but we don't give up. We tolerate whatever condition that Krishna puts us in. Bhakti Siddhanta said that even if something becomes intolerable, still you should tolerate it. Even if it's intolerable, you should tolerate. So we have to tolerate. We have to know what we're supposed to do, and we do it whatever the external conditions are. I mean, first that's knowledge. Knowledge is knowing what we should be doing. And then vijnana is practical application of that knowledge, just applying it to your life. So here, I just got this other Bhagavatam because I wanted the English too. But this verse, Narayana parasarve nakutas chana bibyati svaga parvarga narakeshva api tuyarta darshinaha. Because the translation is really nice, and it's not, the translation is not written in this purport. But it says, devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, solely engaged, means they're not doing anything else. That's it. Never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So they don't even care where they are. And they never fear any condition of life. They're not afraid. They're not afraid because they're completely dependent on Krishna, and they know Krishna can take care of them. I was saying, Lord Nrsingadev, he's protecting the devotees. He can protect the devotees anywhere, anytime. Nobody can hurt the devotees. If something, I mean, a devotee, like Prahlad Maharaj says, he's fully surrendered to Lord Nrsingadev, and he said that, I'm surrendered unto you. If you want me to live, nobody can kill me. If you want me to die, nobody can save me. So he didn't care whether he lived or died. It's whatever Lord Nrsingadev wanted was fine with him. That's a devotee. It's like, I want to live. Well, I want to live because I want to get first purified, so I don't have to take birth again in this material world. But we shouldn't be so attached to even these bodies, and certainly not to sense gratification. So this it goes to hell. One time, someone in England asked Srila Prabhupada, can you describe what hell is like? And he said, London is hell. They don't see it. Prabhupada, not joking, he's seeing it is hell. He also said once where the British had a saying that the sun never sets on British soil. And after he was in London, and every day is just foggy and rainy, he said, and now the sun never rises on British soil. Because if you go to England, it's not sunny at all. So it does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. And Srila Prabhupada did exactly that. He said, you don't know how happy I was living in Vrindavan. He was very, very happy, completely satisfied living in Vrindavan. Living a very simple life. I'm sure most of you have seen where he lived at the Radha Damodar temple, 2 rooms. That is very austere. You know, he just had this little bed. I mean, if you look at it, it's certainly, for most of us, we would be very happy living in that condition. He was completely satisfied because he's in Vrindavan. He's not seeing this external position and difficulties. And then when he come to America, and he for the devotee, he can live in a palatial palace or he can live in a hut. It doesn't make a difference, just as long as he's serving Krishna. So the Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, should we want to go back to Godhead, or should we want to, just serve Krishna birth after birth, just don't care if we go back to Godhead as long as we're serving Krishna? And Prabhupada said, you should want to go back to Godhead. You're not Lord Chaitanya or Prahlad Maharaj. So we shouldn't try to artificially think, I don't care if I'm here. We really want to go back to Godhead. This world is a miserable place. We see it, and we're not that advanced yet. We're not fully engaged in devotional service. But if you're fully engaged in devotional service, you're already back to Godhead. It doesn't matter. You're always with Krishna. So for those people who are always with Krishna, for them it doesn't matter if they take birth again. They're serving Krishna. They actually are not affected by the material world. The pains, they become callous. Just like sometimes if you're working with your hands, maybe doing some carpentry work, and then after some time you notice you're bleeding and you got blood, but you didn't even feel that pain because your mind is absorbed in what you're doing. So when your mind is absorbed in Krishna, you don't feel this pain and suffering that others feel because they're thinking they're the body. They know they're the soul, they're using the body, and the body may be have to suffer, but they're not affected by it. It's not like they don't feel it, but it doesn't affect them from doing their service, from serving Krishna, from thinking of Krishna, from chanting Hare Krishna. So, for us, we should definitely want to go back to Godhead until we get to that point where we are completely absorbed in Krishna and basically back to Godhead. So to attain this, let me go back a little bit more. It does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. I was just mentioning about the mind engaged in the service of the Lord. One time at the Atlanta temple, I was there, Prabhupada was there, Prabhupada was giving class, And someone asked Srila Prabhupada, if you die and you're engaged in service, you're serving Krishna. If you die and you were serving Krishna, do you go back to Godhead? And I remember thinking, well, I wanted to hear what Prabhupada said. And Prabhupada starts out with Bhumir apo nalova yukam mano buddha evacha ahankara iti ame bina prakriti asada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all these are Krishna's separated material energies. So I'm thinking Prabhupada didn't understand the question because I thought it was just a yes or no answer. But then he went on and explained how we have this gross body, made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then we have a subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then he said, so if your body is engaged in serving Krishna, you will go back to Godhead. So I think most people who weren't listening so carefully would think, and he didn't want to discourage people because he knows we're serving Krishna and our mind is somewhere else, but we're doing the service. And that's still good, but it's not enough to go back to Godhead. Your mind has to also be engaged in Krishna's service. So you have to have both your mind, your physical body, and your mental body engaged in serving Krishna. And if you die then, you'll go back to Godhead. Of course, it's Kali Yuga, and many of us, if you look at everybody, we're probably, if we're going to follow these very strict rules of going back to Godhead, we're not going back to Godhead at the end of this life. But Prabhupada also said, Lord Chaitanya will come and he will help you to go back to Godhead. So we may get some special mercy because we're in this movement of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada trying to follow Prabhupada's instructions, that we may get some special mercy at the time of death, and I'm certainly hoping for that. Because if you have to be always your mind and your body engaged in serving Krishna, it's a very difficult thing to accomplish. But you got to start somewhere. And you do benefit. One time, a devotee in New York, in the very beginning of the movement, Prabhupada had sent him, I'm not positive if it was an eggplant, but I think it was an eggplant, to go get an eggplant. I don't know if you know what an eggplant is. It's a vegetable. And so the devotee went, and then he came back and said, Srila Prabhupada, when I went, my mind was thinking of all these things. I was thinking of this, I was thinking of that, and his mind, it was in Maya and so much. And Prabhupada said, did you get the eggplant? And he said, yes. He said, very good. So, we have to do our service in spite of what our mind is telling us. So he accomplished the task. So that's in the beginning. And then gradually we'll get our mind more and more engaged in Krishna's service. So, I think this class ends at 9. Okay, so anyone have any comments or questions? Nobody? Okay. My experience of book distribution. Okay. Well, I can tell you, sometimes it was very, very hard. Very hard. The book bag weighed like 1,000 pounds. It seems so difficult to go out and approach people, but you just keep doing it. One time I was really, really not doing any. I was approaching people, no one would take a book. And then I stopped and I opened one of the books and I read where a devotee is always peaceful. I wasn't peaceful, but I just opened it up anywhere, and that's exactly what I read. So then I changed my objective from trying to distribute books to try and distribute books, but my objective was to remain peaceful while trying to distribute books. So I'd approach people, and they wouldn't take, it wouldn't bother me. And I'd go to the next person. And my goal was just sort of remain peaceful and keep trying. And then, after a while, people started taking books, and I started doing really, really, really well. And just because you can't do good if you're getting upset with people, you know. And sometimes, I mean, Indian people I don't know, I never really distributed in India. But in Westerners, it's very, very hard, and they're not too interested in anything. One time, we distribute door to door. Sometimes we go into stores, because especially when it's freezing outside, there's nobody outside. So I went, and one store was a bar where people drink. So I'm approaching people in there, and the man, the bartender said, "What do you got there?" And he takes the book and he opens it up and he says, "And then Lord Brahma turned and looked with his 4 heads in the 4 directions." And he closed the book and gave it back. It's like, what is this? So, you know, sometimes you luck out, sometimes you don't. But I mean, that was a very good thing. Another time, I was like down. It was like I had no energy, not physically, because of nobody was taking books. And then I remembered someone asking Prabhupada, "How do you become enthusiastic?" Anyone know what Prabhupada said? By what? Yeah, well, he said associating with those who are. Yeah, that can work too. Anybody else? What? Yeah, he says to act enthusiastic. So, I used to be in plays. I mean, as a devotee, not before a devotee. We do. I was in a lot of plays. Every week we do a play. So I know how to act. And the way to act, like if I'm Narada Muni, I would think that I am Narada Muni, and I try to feel like Narada Muni. Or if I'm whoever I was, I would try to think that I'm that person. So when I remembered, if you're not enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. So acting, it's not real, but you just pretend. So I remember thinking, I'm the most enthusiastic person in the whole world. And then I started getting like going out and people saying no, and I'm just running one person. Physically, I was just going so fast. And then I started distributing books, and I started laughing because the whole thing was an act. It's like I wasn't enthusiastic, but I just acted enthusiastic, and I became enthusiastic just by acting enthusiastic. So and then I upped the ante, as they say. I decided I'm the most enthusiastic person in all 3 worlds. And then I started going even harder. And it was funny only because it really worked. Just by acting enthusiastic, you become enthusiastic. You know, it's not like that with everything. It's not like that with purity. I'll just act like I'm pure. That's not going to make me pure. But purity, that you associate with people who are pure, that helps you become pure. But with enthusiasm, he said, act like you're enthusiastic, and if you do, you will see it really does work. So book distribution, I got another few minutes. You have no fear. You know you're doing the right thing. I remember distributing in a supermarket, inside a store in a supermarket, and the lady, I'm trying to sell her a book, and she says, "Are you sure you're supposed to be here?" And I said, "I'm positive I'm supposed to be here." I'm thinking, you shouldn't be here. You know, I'm here doing this for Krishna. I'm supposed to be here. There's no doubt in my mind. So, we should be so convinced that this is what we should be doing. One time, we would go to colleges. They were like the best place, but you can't really go there. We'd go to the dormitories, and you're not supposed to go to the dormitories. The dormitories where the students live. And we knock on the door, and we try to sell them books. And it was very, very good, because college students were the best for buying books and best for becoming devotees also. So we'd go door to door. One time, the security guards, they caught us. We were all the four of us were in different places, and I was in charge because there was a van. I was in charge of the van party. So they brought four of us to the dean, and the dean says, what are we doing? So this is being bold, you know. You just become convinced. You feel almost immortal. Not really immortal, but you're not worried about anything. You're just going to do the right thing no matter what. So the dean asked about what are we doing here? Why are we doing and what are we doing? I said, people come and they look at these colleges and universities. I started out with, many years ago, there was a rumor that the Himalayan mountains were going to give birth. And I said, and a lot of people went to the foothills of the Himalayan mountains to see what the Himalayan mountains are, such a great mountain. What are they going to give birth to? And then there was a little shaking of the earth. And out from the Himalayan mountains came a pack of rats. And he's listening to this. What does it mean? You know, I said, so people are looking at these universities, that great personalities that kind of come out from these universities. And what comes out? A pack of rats. These people have no knowledge. They have no proper etiquette. They don't know anything. So and anyway, when I started telling him a little about this, he realized talking to these people, us, is a complete waste of time. So he just told the guards, just get them off campus. So they just took us away. You know, we went somewhere else. But you just preach boldly. Don't be afraid. Just preach boldly. Don't have any fear. Krishna's you're on Krishna's side. Then nothing, if whatever Krishna wants will happen. But you preach boldly. Don't be afraid to preach to anybody. And we were a little fanatical in the old days, but you know, I may have handled it differently now, but it worked. Another time, we had permission to do a fair. They have world's fairs and stuff, and they have state fairs. We had permission to do this fair. And then they were giving us so many restrictions. They would stop us from doing this. You can't do this, you can't do that. So then, for some reason, I don't remember how, we wound up in the office, and they had all these people who run the fair, and I was speaking to them. And I told them, one time, there was a man who was building he had a new house, and when it's new, you can't use the toilet, you can't use the bathroom until it gets purified, then you can move in. And this one person had to pass stool. And he asked the man if he can use the bathroom. He said, no, you can't. He said, I have to go. He said, no, you can't. And then finally, the man said, okay, you can go, but I'm going to watch. And if you pass one drop of urine, I'm going to beat you with this stick. And they all looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I said that, you know, you're telling us we can do the fair, we can legally do it, but you're giving us all these restrictions where it's making it impossible for us to do. And then they realized that that we were smarter than they expected us to be. And then they were more lenient, and they didn't give us any more restrictions after that. So you have to be bold. Don't be afraid. Just go out and approach people. Don't worry if they look mean. You approach them, humbly approach them, and you see the results. Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. Your what? Oh, whatever blessings I have, may you be able whole life. That would be wonderful. I did it for a long time, but then I stopped because I became a president, did so many other things. And then I went out to try it, and I felt like Arjuna, after Krishna left and he lost all his potency when a bunch of bandits came, you could take it. And he